Blessed be y'all, this is Jen Freemind. I am going to do a video about the books that I started with here. If you've been listening to my videos, one of the authors that started me off passed away a couple of years ago, and I didn't even know it until a couple of days ago. But started me thinking on the stuff that really had an impact on me. And what you're looking at here is the first, I would say, occult book that I purchased. This was probably back in 98 or 99, somewhere in there. And I devoured it. Once I started reading it, I just couldn't hardly put it down. So much amazing stuff about the alignment of the pyramids and everything else. And it made me want to do more. At that time, it had probably been I read when I was in high school, as much as as much or as little as I needed just to get by. And when I was in junior high, I had a real love of reading. I used to consume books, just a lot of books. And then when I got to be a sophomore in high school, I started doing marching band. So the reading period that they used to have in the morning, we didn't do. So I kind of got away from reading. And it wasn't until, the late 90s when I really got back into it. I was listening to Coast AM and had Robert Bauval and the other guy is Adrian Gilbert, and I think Adrian Gilbert has since passed away. Don't quote me on that, but I think he has. But anyway, I found it so interesting, and it was also like one of the first things I ever bought on Amazon, because I didn't know where else to get it. And then later I discovered the quote occult section of the bookstore. But at that time, I would have been scared to death to go in there and do that. But this kind of softened me up a little bit. It wasn't anything that went against any sort of religious things or anything like that. But it did show me that I always had this deep down feeling that, the history that we get is not the real history. It's been sanitized and rewritten to a certain agenda and everything else. So you can't believe a whole lot of it. But check that one out if you think you would like that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm not telling you need to go out and get these books. I'm just telling you what I started with. And I would advise you, if you have a certain interest, you hear about a book, on a radio program or on the internet somehow, just take a chance and buy it. I mean, it may be $10-20, but there's a good chance it will start you on a path. Okay, the next one here is Rule by Secrecy. And at the time I read this right after that. And at the time I read this is the longest book I think I had ever read in my life. How many pages is this thing? It's like 400 and some odd pages. At the time, I thought, it was going to be, it was just, let's see. It's got so much bibliography in here, you can't find the end of it. Okay, it's like 400 and some odd pages. 410 pages. And then there's another probably 20-30 pages of bibliography in there. But he starts he goes back in time and he starts and just talks about the hidden history of the world that people don't talk about a whole lot. And I found it fascinating. It probably took me a month to read this. It's not real easy reading, and it's so dense. But when I got through with it, it was like, oh my God, it just opened the door to everything. And to me, it's a little bit dated nowadays, but that's me. If I knew nothing else and I started with this book even today, because it's about history, I think it would still make a deep impression on me. And I definitely recommend this book to anybody who wants to embark on any sort of spiritual path or path of enlightenment or something like that. All of his other books are really good too. And I didn't know, like I said, until a couple of days ago that he passed away in 2017. So he started out, he was in the garage in Fort Worth when Ruby shot Oswald. He was a reporter. And that's what started him on everything, investigating everything, because he knew that the mainstream story wasn't real because he was there. And his book, can't think of the book name, but he wrote a book about Kennedy, and that ended up getting turned into I can't think of the name of the movie either. But yeah, look it up online, you'll find it. All right, next one. This is one of the first magic books I ever got. I didn't even know at the time. I picked Chaos Magic because it seemed like kind of an eclectic thing, and I didn't know. I knew I didn't want to be, just a mainstream sort of pagan type thing. So that's why I got this. And it opened my mind to a lot of stuff. And it wasn't until, probably 10 years later that I reread it and I was like, yeah, this is what I've been doing all this time. I'd gotten kind of I thought I was getting off the track, but I really wasn't. I was going right along with what Chaos Magic is all about. And so I would recommend this book for anybody who wants to get a foundation in Chaos Magic. And like I said, I read the book and then I kind of put it to the side. Didn't quite know what to do with it, but I think it got into my subconscious. And so as time went on, I was really able to I was able to do a lot of it. I was able to live it, actually live it, and not even really understand that I was living it. So that's that one. And I've got one more here. This is Hunt for Zero Point by Nick Cook. Nick Cook was or still is a writer for Jane's Defense Weekly. So he covers all kinds of things about aviation and everything. So he is very versed in the science of aviation. And this book here, when you read it, it will change the way you think. And I have tried to go back and read it again, and I have not really been successful in doing so. I know the first time I read it just put me into a different frame of mind. It is it is like a psychedelic trip where you find yourself being able to have you find this profound meaning, and then as you come back it slips away. And that's what I found with this book, that there was some profound stuff in this book, but it slipped away pretty darn quickly. A lot of times it seems it is difficult to live in that altered state just because of the vibration of the world around us. And I have a desire to go back to that place, but I don't know that I ever can. There's some other books, and I'll explain those other. I don't want to get into it now, but there's some other books, and I'll dig them out and do another video on them. That interesting stuff happened when I read the book, and this is one of them. I mean, it just puts you into an altered state, because you have to think differently to understand any of that. So I hope this helps you out, and I would recommend this book to anybody who wants to alter their state of mind. And this is Jen Freemind. Blessed be y'all.